How are you, Jordan? Good morning.
Hey Mike, good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you for being a part of my new show, Between Two Ewers.
Yeah,
This is
I
Jordan
love what
Coons,
you're
everybody
doing.
from Syracuse, right? Are you up from Syracuse
Yes,
area?
I'm in Syracuse. Yeah, I've really been
Yeah.
all over upstate New York, but right now I'm sitting pretty in Syracuse.
I was just up there the other day. I should have came by and said hi. Darn it! Next
Were
time
you
I
at
will.
Clayscapes?
I went to Clayscapes to get some. Got some glaze. Lady, go lay down. To get some glaze because I was getting 20 pounds of it, and I'm like, it's an hour and a half drive. I might as well save $40 in shipping.
Yeah, absolutely. And next time you go, really honestly, let me know. I live a mile from Clayscapes.
Do you
Like
really?
I'm very close.
That
Yeah.
place is very hard to find, by the way.
It is. It is pretty hard.
Really?
But Clayscapes is awesome. Actually, I'll take it off on a completely different tangent with that. Clayscapes is part of, like, in the central New York area. Have you heard of Feats of Clay ever?
No, no, nope.
So, in this area at the towards the end of the school year,
Mhm.
we will have this thing called Feats of Clay,
Uh-huh.
where it's a whole bunch of different high school ceramics programs all gather at the Everson. It used to be at OCC's campus, but now it's at the Everson Museum. And every school brings a wheel, and there are different feats of showing
Oh,
off which school has, like,
oh, I did
the,
hear about that. Yes,
yeah.
yep.
And so Clayscapes always donates the clay, and they kind of like MC the whole thing and make sure it's a well-oiled machine. But it is incredible to see these high schoolers doing, like, you have one of the feats is throwing 15 pounds
Yep,
blindfolded.
yep.
Another is maybe it's 10 pounds or 5 pounds. Anyway, another is like a group of four kids throwing like 25 pounds of clay, literally using no hands, which is why
Oh,
it's
wow.
called feats of clay. Because
Play.
sometimes, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's a trip. It's a fun time.
that's
Um,
really cool.
when I first moved here, I was teaching at a high school, and I got to take my students to
Hmm.
that event. And last year, I got to be a judge.
Oh, neat.
Um, yeah, we're always looking for judges. If you're ever interested in making the drive to
Yeah,
Syracuse,
keep me in
it's
mind. Is
a
that a summer thing?
it always happens the first Friday in May.
Oh, okay. I might be able to do that. As soon as summer starts, I'm kind of working nonstop. Excuse me one time. Come on, lady.
Yeah, you're
You
good.
gotta get rid of this dog. Come on. She's driving me nuts. Go on. Go upstairs. She's just already jumping and scratching and barking at the door. I can tell she's gonna do it the whole time.
She's gonna be in and out, in and out, in and out.
Yeah. Oh well. Um, what was I gonna say? Oh, so I did notice you were part of the Western New York Pottery Festival as well.
Yeah, it was good. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it again this year. And actually, I was going to ask you if you've heard about how Clayscapes does a pottery festival in October.
Oh,
So the
cool.
the Western New York Pottery Festival happens in Avon, and
Yep.
that's usually in June. And last year was pretty tough for me because I had done Allentown in Buffalo, Allentown Arts Festival, and that's always the first weekend in June. And then the very next weekend, I had done the Western New York Pottery Festival, and that was a lot to do, two outdoor
Yeah.
events back to back. It really it was a lot on me, and I'm really scaling back this year as far as like doing festivals and events and whatnot.
I was just up in Avon the other day.
Were you at Studio Sales?
Yeah, I went up to see Mike. I got some relays. I bought my kiln through Mike at
Oh,
Studio
nice.
Sales.
Yep.
I knew him years ago. I did a wood firing with him back in the day. He
Might be
does
good
this.
people.
Yeah, Mike's a good guy. Yeah, he's a great thrower. You ever watch him throw on the wheel?
Not, I've seen like clips of him, or I've like seen pictures, but I haven't seen it in person.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that makes it look really easy.
I love that.
So you teach? What do you teach up there? You said you used to be a high school teacher, or do you teach high school?
Well, I've been teaching for 15 years, and I kind of have a really unique experience with teaching. Usually, people, I call them lifers. They get a teaching job right out of college, and then they sit there for 30 years. And then by
Yeah.
the time they retire, they're like Sometimes they love their lives. A lot of times they're like old and crusty and a little bit like resentful.
Yeah.
um, I have taught in, I've moved around a lot and I've taught in probably at this point 8 or 9 different school districts.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so I moved up here for a high school job north of Syracuse, and I did that for a year. It wasn't really a good fit for me or the school. And so right now I'm in a district, it's quite an affluent district. I have most of my students are like their parents are like the professors at SU, or they're the doctors or whatever. Um, and so I teach only part time. I teach, we have 3 elementary schools, and all 3 of the elementary schools have full time art teachers. But we have too many students for contractually those art teachers to be able to like take care of the whole student body. So
Hmm.
my position was created to kind of like come in, and I go from school to school and I teach a couple of different classes. My day starts from 9, I end by 1,
Wow.
and it's wonderful. It's funny because I talk to different people
Yeah.
who kind of like wrinkle their nose and they go, "That sounds terrible." And I'm like,
That
I mean,
sounds great.
it's a great fit for me. I've got my benefits are taken care of. I'm not I'm not having to worry about full-time duties like
Yep.
that often get placed on full-time teachers. Really, my position is very difficult to fill because a lot of people are looking for full-time positions. And I kind of came in and interviewed and said, like, I've got this business. I want to have more time to be able to focus on my art. And you obviously need this position to be filled to be able to help out your full-time teachers. So
Hmm.
like so it really it's a pretty symbiotic relationship, and it's
That sounds great, to tell you the truth.
yeah, yeah.
I
I had
mean,
I Go ahead.
you don't like you're not you got time to do your own work, right?
Hmm.
You got time at home. You're not stuck in the same class every day. I mean, I would think just getting to move from classroom to classroom keeps it kind of fresh for you.
Yeah, and especially like you were talking earlier about having an ADHD brain, it
Yeah.
does it. Yeah, it really works out for me. Sometimes I miss having my own class, but at the same time, having your own class means you have to manage that space.
Yeah.
And and let's be real, I've just been in a season of not really wanting to do that.
Hmm.
Um, we'll see though. Actually, there's some movement happening in my department, and I may possibly be switching it up after this school year. So we'll see.
My ex-wife, my daughter's mom, is a art teacher. She's been an art teacher, gosh, probably 25 years now.
I wonder
And
if she and I have like, is she in New York State?
she's at Genesee Valley in Belmont. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Kristen Holtz. You might know her. She went to Syracuse.
Genesee Valley, that's right up here in Syracuse, yeah?
No, no, it's down here. It's not far away.
Oh, okay, okay.
An hour from my house.
Okay.
Um, but teachers. I think you're probably the fourth or fifth teacher that's been on this show already as well. So I have the utmost respect for teachers. I'm a teacher, but I teach golf. I teach what I love, so I don't
Right.
don't have a classroom. But not only do teachers do a ton of work and take care of our kids all day, but as an art teacher, your work is like threefold because you got so much art supplies and stuff to clean up.
Yeah. It's I don't think people realize just the toll that it takes. And that was another part of it with switching to part-time is I'd gotten pretty burned out with a couple of just
Absolutely.
really rough years after COVID. And when this position became an opportunity, I was really in a place of like considering leaving education altogether.
Yeah.
Um, and this position has completely healed
Oh,
uh,
good.
my trauma
Yep. Yeah.
and given me the space to kind of just be able to be more like it's not only managing a space, dealing with parent emails, dealing with administration, but
Oh,
also people don't really realize, just like how we are talking right now in this studio space, if you get a good classroom environment going, you're hearing kids talk and you're becoming a therapist.
yeah.
And that's a lot too. That's it's one of the things that I love so much about teaching, but it's also it's a lot emotionally.
Emotionally, yeah, sure, absolutely. You know, I'm a big advocate for. I think teachers should be the highest paid people in the country, right? Because
Yeah.
they're literally shaping the future of our nation, right? They're
Yeah.
making citizens out of our kids,
Yeah.
and they're with them all day, every day. Like, what's going to happen if people stop teaching? Like,
I mean, we might be seeing that very soon.
yeah,
we
right?
we're already looking at quite a shortage, but I'm really interested to see just how things are going to continue to turn out for educators, because we had a lot of teachers leave the profession in the last few years, and
Absolutely.
um,
You
yeah,
know.
it's just it's a I agree with you completely.
I said to my daughter the other day, well, I have three kids. I have my daughter who just turned 15, which is unbelievable,
Yeah.
and two step kids, 13 and 16. So we're kind of busy. But I said to my daughter the other day the same thing. I'm like, who wants to teach anymore? The pay is terrible. The hours are a ton. Like, and she said, well, actually, Dad, I have four of my friends that I know want to be teachers.
Yeah.
I
Well,
said, well, that's good.
it's interesting. I just gave a talk at the New York State Art Teachers Association conference in the
Oh, I
fall,
see. Mm-hmm.
and what I was talking about was Gen Alpha, and
Yeah.
the
Saw
whole
your
work.
post.
Yeah. Okay. So the whole workshop, I'm really into astrology, and one of the things that I've learned in studying astrology is it actually helps you. I'm going to try to like not go fully into this because I could talk this whole podcast about astrology, and I'm
Let's
not
do
going
it.
to do that.
Right?
But there are indicators that help us understand generations. And so the whole lecture that I gave was about your daughter's generation. She's in Gen Alpha. A lot of us think that right, yeah, a lot of us think that Gen Alpha is still like the babies right now, but really they're about between the ages of like 15 down to like 1.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we're seeing this, that with Gen Alpha, they are way more observant of the generations before them, and they're kind of watching us, and they're realizing at an earlier age how much fuck ups we are. Like,
I was gonna say, oh no, yeah.
um like like I feel like for me, I'm a millennial, and I feel like I was swindled. Like, it wasn't until after college that I went like, oh no, oh god, you guys sold me. You really
You guys are idiots.
yeah, I really thought you guys had this figured out. What do you mean?
Oh
And
no.
Gen
Ugh.
Alpha, they're the builders. They're the ones who millennial. I feel like you're Gen X. So Gen X, you're like the middle child. You're in between the boomers and the millennials, and you're just like, please stop the fighting. Like, just hang out. Please, can't
We
we
all
all just
just get
hang out?
along.
Exactly. You're the middle child. Whereas the boomers are doing whatever the boomers are doing. The millennials' job has been to kind of point out, we were supposed to figure it out and go, oh, that system's messed up. That's messed up. What do you mean I have to pay that much for student loans? What do you
Yeah,
mean I'm a teacher and I'm only getting paid this much? Like, so
yeah.
we're doing our battle cry, and then Gen Z has kind of gone like, okay, I see what that's all about. I'm just going to do me. And they're figuring it out as they're becoming adults right now. And so then back to your daughter's generation is looking at all of us going like, oh my God, wow, we're all screwed. And a lot of Gen Alpha is wanting to fix the things that the messes that we've created. So
God.
It doesn't surprise me at all that your daughter was saying like, actually, there are more people my age who want to be teachers. That really is on par, and good for them. That's awesome. We need more of them.
I saw this comedian talking about my generation. He's like, we're the ones that just did whatever we wanted, and then we
Yeah.
just said, good luck. You know, we made a mess of everything.
Well, you're the, I don't know if you made a mess. I mean, you're the latchkey generation too. You guys were left to your own devices.
You
You
got to see
really,
this. So the dog is outside going crazy, right?
I can hear her. Yeah.
Because my next door neighbor is snow blowing our driveway, which is really, really long by hand, and
Okay.
he's 75 years old. So do I want to go out there and go, hey man, I'm doing a podcast while he's doing my driveway by hand?
I
No.
know. The sound isn't too bad. I don't
Oh,
think
good.
it's, I mean,
It's
you can hear
hilarious.
like a little thing in the background, but I didn't notice it until you said
He's the
something.
nicest guy, you know. He'll just come up and plow. Like he uses his snow blower. It just gives him something to do because he's retired. And I'm like, I can call up. I got a friend with a plow. He'll do it in like 6 minutes.
Right.
Like, no, I'll do it. Okay.
This is one of the things that I love so much about like the small towns, like with you being in the town that you're in. And,
Yes.
you get that sense of community, which is really nice.
I love it. I grew up on Long Island where it was like everyone just said, "Leave me alone." Get out
Yeah.
of my yard. Yeah, it's like there was no community really where I grew up. I think there
Long
was, but
Island
I
is
wasn't
not my
part
vibe.
of it. I think my mom was working all the time, so we didn't really do any PTA things. She was at work.
So what brought you up here? Was it your ex-wife that brought you up this way?
Oh gosh, no, my grandparents had a house in Alfred, actually.
Okay, that's
And
your connection to Alfred. Got it.
that's my main connection to Alfred. Yeah, and I used to come up and actually broke my collarbone skateboarding on Alfred State campus when I was 12.
So good. Oh my
I
gosh,
did.
you're
I'm
funny.
like, I'm going down that hill. Those famous last words.
Oh my
You know
God.
when you're going really fast on a skateboard and it starts to shake?
Yep.
I was doing that.
Oh my
I kept
God.
jumping off and trying to take those long running steps to slow down, and it didn't work. But anyway, so yeah, I used to come up here back when I was a kid, and growing up in Long Island, I was like, this place is terrible. Like, there's nothing up here. What do you people do? And then I ended up moving up here when I was 20 years ago. Gosh, I was 30 something. And I ended up going back to school at Alfred for theater. I was a theater major. Everyone thinks I went to Alfred for ceramics, but I didn't. I was a theater major. And
Their
just,
ceramics program though
oh, it's
is
the
like,
best. Yeah, it was the
but
best.
also, go ahead.
I don't know if it is anymore. I think it was the best for a while there.
I
But
got to visit the campus a couple of summers ago. A friend or two of mine were we had reached out of like, hey, we're like high school teachers and we want to check out the campus to be able to like put in a word to our students. So it
yeah,
was really cool to kind of we got a little bit of the not full like red carpet treatment, but we got some swag. We got like a nice like tour,
nice.
and it was really cool. And now it's
It's
so fun, like when I went to NCCA and getting to meet students there, like people who are getting their masters or whatever, and just now having that knowledge of the space, and then meeting these people who are making incredible work out of the space.
I don't
Um,
I don't know if there is a better clay program. Like
yeah,
it's
I don't
it's
really know.
definitely one of the best ceramics programs in the world.
Yeah.
But it's a great little town. I like Alfred. I go there probably once a week. I know a couple of my friends work there, and I get my clay from there.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's a good spot, and it's kind of funny as a guy. I got to know all the greats back in the day. And I was a theater major, so it was always kind of funny how they were like, oh look, the theater guy's trying to make pottery, like keep at it,
Yeah.
kid. you know? And now my pots are good, and they're like, oh my god, well, how'd that
So,
happen?
were you taking ceramics classes as a theater major?
No, nope,
Okay.
nope. I was working at a coffee shop. I was managing a coffee shop in Wellsville, another small
Yeah.
town. It's actually where my daughter lives, Wellsville.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and they were teaching a class downstairs. It was a community wheel throwing class, and I was watching this lady Marcia. We had a break. It was kind of slow in the coffee shop, so I ran downstairs and I was talking to her and drinking a cup of coffee and watching her throw on the wheel. And I said, "Can I try that? That
Aw.
looks like fun. I want to try that." And she said, "Sure, go ahead." So I said, "Well, can you center it for me first? Because that looks like it's the hard part." So she said, "Sure." So she centered a piece for me, and then I sat down and I threw a bowl.
Oh my God.
And she looks at me, Marcia Van Vlack. She goes, "You've never done that before?" I said, "Nope." She goes, "That's not normal." I was like, "I don't know, but that's freaking fun." And that was it. I just fell in love with
Yeah,
it.
that's
So,
so fun.
and then I
I
threw on the
was,
wheel forever.
yeah, I've really had you in my head as a more of a hand builder. And then in
Yes.
watching some of your episodes and learning a little bit more about your direction, I was just surprised that you had more experience with wheel throwing than I guess I assumed.
Yeah, I was addicted to the difficulty of the wheel.
That's, yeah,
It's hard.
you're speaking my language.
It's hard, which to me is like, okay, well, I'm gonna figure this out then.
Yeah. Well,
And I
especially
love it.
with your pro golfing, that kind of, I mean, you have a bit of a competitive nature to you.
Yes, and it's an eye hand coordination thing, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you can get your fingertips to talk to your arms, you can throw pots.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but I remember the moment when I was sitting in my old studio. It had a little wood stove in it, so I had to get out there at 6 o'clock in the morning and light the stove so it wasn't too cold.
That's awesome.
Had to bring my clay inside so it didn't freeze. And I threw a tall cylinder on the wheel, and I remember sitting back in my chair and looking at that cylinder and going, "Well, now what do I do with it?"
Right.
Right? Like that's only like a third of the way done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, I gotta completely alter that. So I was stuck with a cylinder, a plate, or a bowl. And then I was like, okay, well, if I hand build, I can make any shape I think of.
Oh, so you weren't really interested in the constrictions that the wheel provides on like making things so the radial symmetry of it all.
Yeah, yeah, literally,
Ah.
yeah. Like so, I still throw my mug bodies,
Uh-huh.
uh, but I alter the hell out of them. I rasp them. I make them as thin as not as thin as I can. I'm not trying to make a super light mug like a lot of guys. I actually was thinking about this yesterday. I don't mind if my mugs are slightly bottom heavy because I have 2 dogs and 2 cats.
Right.
I don't want them to
You
tip
don't want
over
that.
easily.
Yeah, exactly.
I
No, the one
remember.
that I have from you, hold on, let me see if I can grab it because my little coffee station is just outside of my studio here.
You, you got one of my older model ones. It's wild how
Yeah,
stuff changes, isn't it?
I know,
Yeah,
and
this
how
one.
much things change so quickly too.
Look at
But I was drawn to this one because of your terracage like design that you were doing. But this has like it's got look at you, yeah.
this is the we
There we
swap.
go.
This is the one we swapped for that one.
I know you. I have to tell this story. I remember, so you had sent me the message like, "Hey, I heard you're doing swaps at MCCA," and then when I meet up with you, I knew I followed you, but I hadn't like, I didn't know you. And then
Yeah,
you tell me that you're in Naples, and I'm like, dude, like in my head, I'm like, I'm coming to this place to try to swap with people who are from all over the world, and
yeah.
instead
This
I
guy lives
swap
down
with
the
this guy
block.
who's down the road.
You're like, let's save the mug and call me when you get home.
I know.
That's too funny.
Oh my god.
Do you know Jesse Marinacci?
Not by, if you showed me their work, I'd probably, I'm sure, I mean, I follow
She's
everyone, but
she's a potter from Canandaigua, JMV Ceramics.
yes, she and I have done a couple of events. We both did, oh man, we both
Tall
did,
redhead.
yeah, we both did the Mackenzie Childs
Yep.
makers thing that was like a couple falls ago.
Yep.
And yeah, she's great. And she always does like her studio things there in Naples, right? She'll do like an open house studio thing.
Yep. She just did one
She's
for Christmas, actually.
That's right. Yeah, she's so nice.
She is super nice. She's a total sweetheart. Um, she came over a month ago. Here, I'll show you. I said, just come over and let's make pots together. Honestly, that's again, that's how it comes back to this show. It's like
Yeah.
I like to chat with other artists and potters and talk about what you're doing and your process and
Yeah.
you know, like I was saying earlier, people called me Mr. Live because I want to talk to people. There's nothing better, in my opinion, than sitting at a table with four other potters or five other potters just making stuff together.
Yeah. And I think
Great.
that especially with COVID, um, I think that a lot of people have kind of recoiled and kind of like come into their shell. And I'm one
Yeah.
of those people who have kind of just like gone into a bit of a hermit crab
Yeah.
situation. And we need the people like you who are kind of like the spatula who like scrapes the edges and goes like, wait, let's all have community.
What are you doing under there?
Yeah. You bring
you know,
everyone out of their shell.
it's funny how you said you recoiled like a hermit crab, and my first thought is that's got to be painful for you because you don't
Ah.
seem to be that type for me.
Yeah. I think. I mean, I see it as everything is a season, you know. So I kind of just go like, this is the time for that, and but yeah, I do miss the social aspect. But at the same time, like I don't know, like I am going to NCCA this year, and I'm super pumped about
Cool.
that.
Are you going?
Um,
I'm gonna go. I'm still thinking about it. I'm
you
probably
should
not.
go. I'm flying out of Rochester. We could
Oh,
fly
really?
together. Yeah.
I'm probably not going to go. I'm teaching a workshop in Wilmington the first weekend in April,
Oh,
so that
okay.
might be a little tight.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
wouldn't then.
so Jessie came over and we did a
Oh,
bunch of coils, and she built this piece, and then I painted it for her. Isn't that
ah,
fun?
fun. That
So
is
this was
so
our
not
little.
her style either. That's so fun.
No, not at all. So it was really fun to. I can't wait to give it to her. Isn't
That's
that fun?
awesome.
I've been geeking
Yeah.
out on these florals lately. You've seen them, right?
Yeah. But you've also been so good at collaborating with people too. You just collaborated with Tony, right?
Yeah, Tony did a couple of pieces. Um, who else did a couple of pieces? I sent one to Ron Philbeck.
Okay.
I can't wait to see what he does. That's gonna be fun. Who else? Oh, I don't know. I'm just like, it's funny. You just reach out and ask people, "Hey, man, you want to do a piece together?" Most potters are like, "Sure," you know.
But
It's
this
okay
this
to
comes
ask.
back to what I was saying about you earlier is I think that and maybe this is like maybe to bring it all full circle, maybe it's also part of your nature, part of you being a Gen Xer and just kind of being like the middle child of like, hey, let's
Yeah,
be
yeah,
friends.
yeah.
Um, but it's so important. And one thing I deal with a lot as an artist is I have imposter syndrome like all the time. And the idea of reaching out to a potter and saying to them, like, hey, would you like to collaborate? Like, that is terrifying for me.
Uh,
um,
I try to teach my daughter to like. I'm like, just ask. What's the worst they can say is no,
right. Yeah, I know.
right?
I know.
I've been trying to tell you. You've taught different stages of kids' lives. I
Yeah,
told my daughter since she was little. I said, remember this term. Nobody cares what you think, right?
it's so true. Yeah.
So when like some little bratty girl is picking on you in middle school, just turn around and go, I don't really care about your opinion. Like that's fine. You do
What,
you. Just get it for me. I just wanted to have her be somewhat ready for Mean Girls, and
yeah. Is
turns
she
out,
still in middle school? She's still in
yeah,
middle
she's in
school.
ninth grade.
Okay.
But she's a theater girl. She's doing the play. She's got a whole bunch of friends, and like
Aww.
playing golf this year. Woo!
Oh, that's awesome. The
Yeah.
theater kids, man. I was also a theater kid.
Yes.
Um,
They're fun.
yeah. It is. It is fun. Do you ever do like, well, you're so busy, I'm sure you don't, but do you ever get involved with community theater with your
No,
background?
a couple of people have asked me, and the problem is once summer starts, I can't
Yeah.
make pots at all. I can't
Right.
do much of anything. I work 7 days a week, and then when I'm not working, I'm practicing and playing tournaments, and when, playing with a couple of buddies of mine for money. My one buddy still owes
Oh,
me
there you go.
money.
So that's another question that I have for you is how do you make, I don't know, how do you make space for having these two very different seasons throughout the year? Like when you're doing the golfing thing, are you missing being in the studio?
Yeah. So I'm at that point in my ceramics life where I'm getting resentful that I have to go to work.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
know what I
that's
mean?
yeah, that's real. Yeah, I know that.
I'm also very fortunate to be able to do this in the winter. I call myself seasonally retired
Okay. Yeah, I like
because
that.
in the winter I work pretty much 7 months, and then I work pretty much 7 days a week for 7 months. And
Wow.
then by the time it's over, I'm like, oh my God, get me out of here.
Yeah.
And then I can take a big deep breath and be creative and hang out with the people I want to hang out with, which is like you guys. And then, the anxiety sets back in and we got to do it all over again. But it's okay. It's not that bad. It's like the golf course is like 2 miles from my house.
That's awesome. You've
Yeah.
really got a good
It's a decent
situation.
gig. I'm not going to complain. I really am not. My buddy owns the golf course, and he's a really good guy to work for. He's very chill. Our kids go to school together. Yeah, actually, he went off skiing this morning. He sent me a text. Want to go skiing? I said, no, it's too cold outside. What are you, nuts?
It really is, yeah.
It is freaking
Um,
cold.
so
So
I kind
anyway,
of have like a flip side version of
mhm,
yours where like here I work during the school year and then I have, I'm on February break right now. I was
yeah,
really fortunate with 2 weeks at Christmas time this year, and then I'll
yes,
have spring break, and then I have all of summer, which actually, the more the year goes on, like, I don't know, I feel like they're eking into our summertime and our summer is getting shorter and shorter and shorter, or at least that's how it feels. But
yeah,
this, we were having before we started recording, we were talking a little bit about that balance of
yeah,
doing the things for things that will sell versus creating art for yourself, right?
yeah,
And similar to that, I'm in this season right now of figuring out a balance between the hustle and making art that just makes me happy and not like caring
yeah,
about whether it sells or not. A lot of times I'm doing the school year hustle and I'm also preparing for art festivals that I'll do throughout the summer. And
hmm
one of the things I'm doing right now is I'm scaling back a lot and not signing up for different art festivals because I'm just burned out and I don't want to resent it, like what you were talking about. I don't want to resent that time that it's taking me away from the studio. And even when I do have time, like I've had this whole week and I haven't been in the studio as much as I wanted to. And
hmm
I've just been needing to rest. And I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling a little bit, but I'm kind of just trying to talk about
That's what
how,
we're here for.
yeah, but I
Ah,
feel like
darn.
sometimes when we're in that hustle and grind, it kind of can take away from just the art process of it all.
This is why
Ah,
you throw. This is why you throw extras, so you can
but
drop.
that it's very similar to the bottom that I have.
Yeah. So I do this. It's nice and
Do you
flat.
just
And
do you just oh
no, go
you do
ahead.
the heel. Okay, got it.
Yeah, kneecap works. Yeah. So then it's
That's
just like that. I'm not a trimmer anymore. I don't trim.
it's so funny. Yeah, I heard you talk about that. How you don't like trimming, and trimming is my favorite freaking thing. I love trimming so much.
Well, I got sick of putting it down with the lugs of clay because then sometimes it sticks to it if it's too wet, and then you warp the rim.
Hmm.
So what I used to do is just wet the top with my finger and then stick it to the wheel and
Yeah,
just go.
that's what I do. I just suction it. Yeah,
Yeah. And then sometimes that'll fly off or you'll cut through it or
yeah,
I'm like, all right. And then I tried to Giffen grip, which, doesn't really work. You squish your pot if it's too wet, blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
So now I just knock them in like that a little bit, and that's the base. That's done. That's what you get.
I feel like that's also so much of a thing of potters specifically, but me, I don't know. I don't know. I'm probably just biased and I'm like, potters are the best artists in the world. That's my very biased opinion. But we
Uh,
do this, right? Where we figure out things that we like or we don't like. For me, I hated glazing. I hated glazing. I always
yeah,
fucked up my glazing. I'd like
yeah.
put all this work in, and then you'd see the brush strokes or you'd see, the dip drips or whatever. I just hated it. And for me, form is my thing. Form is my jam, and altering and making these like sculptural things that I have done the same thing that you did with your bottoms, where I just went like, okay, I'm not like glazing is not going to be my forte. I'm just
Mhm.
going to dip it and call it good. Just pick a couple colors and that's it. And then, I get to focus um where I'm more
You get to
interested.
put the focus where you want to put the focus,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's a real fan of glazing. I'm still not. As a matter of fact, I was going to put a picture on Instagram the other day. Like, you can see on the floor where my bucket was, right? Like, you can
Yeah.
see the ring surrounded by splatters of glaze.
Yeah.
It
You
just
know, and
cracks me.
go ahead.
Like, what a spaz! Like this tray it's pretty long. I think it's about 16 inches long. So
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to hold it like this and pour glaze, and then you couldn't get one end, so you got to pour this in. So then you see the little double dip line. Like, I don't think that'll
Right.
bother anybody else, but I see it. Yeesh. And-
When it
But that's
comes
why I
to
went to Terra Sigillata, to tell you the truth.
see, and I have absolutely no experience with terracage at all in it. Like I find it I've always found it intimidating, mostly because I just don't know anything about it.
Actually, I would love to see what your stuff does with Terra Sig. The hard part would be coloring the inside.
Mm.
When you dip it, the glaze goes in there. If you're going to
Yeah.
paint on Terracid, you'd have to get the inside.
Well, I don't have one of my pieces right now to show, but one of the things that I've gotten into in the last like 6 or 7 months is I will put a resist around the outside and I just use tape. I just use
Hmm.
like painter's tape. And then I pour a glaze inside and shake it up. And then you
Oh,
can do you get what I'm saying?
yeah,
Does
yeah,
it
yeah.
And that way I'm getting this like contrast of the inside to the outside. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Now
so
I
you're
don't
kind of creating your own shell.
I
You're
think so.
creating a shell around it and then pouring it inside. So
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah,
you would
yeah, yeah.
you're taping around this.
Yes.
Yeah, oh,
And yeah,
cool.
yeah. So I don't know if I could do that with terracid and like pour it inside. Like I've never worked with it, so I don't even know. Like, do you just
Yeah,
put it on like glaze?
yep.
Huh.
So here,
Okay. Yeah.
it's super easy to make, and I'm not. So it's funny. Like, I taught a workshop for Ceramics Monthly in November on. It was called Terra Sigillata the Easy Way,
Ooh.
because you can get super in depth with this. And I started off my workshop with holding up the book by Rhonda Willers that I learned from, and I said,
Hmm.
"This is the correct way to make Terra Sigillata. Like, if you want to do it right, read this book."
Right.
I am, a spaz who figured it out my own way. So I
Yeah.
make Terra Sig and I fill it up to about here on this thing, and then I take one big giant scoop and go bloop. If I want a little bit more, I take extra. Boop, and then I just
Perfect.
shake it up.
That's
Done.
exactly how I roll.
Yeah, just it. I don't have time to screw around with that. Hold on, the dog. I got a needy animal again. Go on. Sheesh. Uh, um, yeah. So, what was I going to tell you? I
You were
love your
talking
cut work,
about.
by
Oh, go
the
ahead.
way. I love your cut work. It's like that's hardcore, man.
Thank you. I love
Like,
it. It's
yeah,
it's just it scratches a fun part of my brain that otherwise I can't. Although when you were talking about getting into wheel throwing because you knew it was difficult and you just wanted to do things that were difficult, right? And like it's kind of like a video game where you see this next task and you're like, okay, now I'm going to complete that task and then I'm going to
yeah.
keep going. And so that's where I got into like piercing and carving my clay, and then I wanted to do double walled work to like show off, like, look, I can do this
Yeah.
really tricky thing, and I can make the outer form like so delicate. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And now I'm in this whole thing of figuring out how to solder stained glass to my pieces. And I haven't quite ventured into doing this with functional forms yet, mostly because, you're dealing with lead.
Pay no attention to the solder. Just keep reading.
I mean, there is lead-free solder,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I did try. Like, I had. Let's see. Do I have an example? Oh, okay. So I had these. I was doing this whole thing back in the spring and summer where I was making these handles with loop-de-loops, and I
yeah.
mostly made these loop-de-loops because I wanted to solder stained glass into here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That way, it's like it's farther away,
Yeah, that
and
would be fine.
yeah. And I tried that once or twice and it failed. And so I'm in that phase of I have failed a few things. And so I put it on the back burner
Yeah.
to address at a later time.
I was thinking, how would you get that to stick in that little handle piece? I guess just epoxy, probably.
No, I mean, you really can. Yeah. You can wrap the copper around and then you just burnish the shit out of it. And yeah, I was trying to do it without epoxying because I have been doing these pieces where I am just like I've been playing around with stuff like this where I'm putting mirrors in because
Yeah.
this is something that sells really well at festivals, right?
Yeah. Very
But
cool.
I didn't solder it. I just epoxied it on the back and it looks like crap
Yeah.
on the back, but like who cares,
Yeah.
whatever.
I love the one piece you were had. I was geeking out on your social media there.
Mm,
It was a really cool piece actually. It was kind of standalone. Had a whole
yeah.
bunch of pieces together. You had a video of it. That's really
Yeah, yeah.
neat.
Thanks. Well, I the reason why I'm venturing into this whole stained glass thing is I won a grant to try to do this, and it's through the gallery in the valley, which is in Geneseo. How far is Geneseo from you?
35 minutes, not far.
Okay, easy. So part of that is I'll have a solo show. So I'm working on some pieces right now. And that was just all I presented to them was like, I really want to figure out how to solder stained glass to my work because
Yeah,
no one does this and I want to
yeah,
try and see if I can do it. And so from that, I've started creating some other more sculptural pieces. And that piece that I made, um, I had made it specifically for a call for entry for a group exhibition. So
hmm.
we'll see if it gets in.
I could
Fingers
see,
crossed.
I could see sculpturally, like the possibilities are endless to do clay and stained glass together. Functionally, is a whole other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's where I'm kind of like talking about ADHD brain. Like I am just pulled in a million different directions right now of like, do I focus on function? Do I focus on art festivals? Like right now I've pulled back from art festivals and I'm doing more like just
Oh yeah,
doing some online shop drops and like, oh, now I really
yeah,
want to do sculptural stuff. And sometimes that sounds fun, but other times I get into these modes where I almost like freeze and I don't know
yeah,
which way to go. I don't
yeah.
know if you ever deal with that. Do you ever like,
Oh my
cause,
God, yes. You know,
okay.
it's so funny. I was just thinking as you were talking about that. I got a buddy who I play. We play each week. We play every Tuesday. A bunch of guys play. And he beats me sometimes, like because I let him win. Because I feel bad for him.
Okay, go on.
But I, as an ADHD kind of artistic, whatever the hell's wrong with me, guy, I always, and I analyze golf swings. It's kind of what I do. So I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, if I try to get here a little bit flatter, that'll make the whole move through the ball just way easier. And I was telling him that last year while we were playing, and he said, Mike, he goes, you need to stop messing with your golf swing. He's like,
Mm.
your swing is so good, he said, why are you messing with it? I said, have we met?
Right.
Like, I can't not mess with it.
That's how your brain works.
I don't
Yeah.
know what you're talking about. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. Like my buddy that owns the golf course, right? Like we got named #1 course in Rochester by Golf Magazine last year.
Which golf course are you out of?
Naples, right in Naples, New York, Reservoir Creek.
Oh, but I was just surprised to hear Rochester.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, because we're in the Rochester area. We're in the Rochester District Golf Association, the RDGA.
Oh, I see. Okay, go on.
Yeah. People are like, "What do you mean you're not in Rochester?" I said, "Yeah, and we're still the best."
Yeah.
you know. But so with my buddy, I'm like, dude, let's do this, let's capitalize on this, and he's like, no, that's not. I'm like, I don't understand. Do you want to make $1 million, or do you want to just keep going the way it is? Like, what's wrong with you? It
Hmm.
doesn't compute to me that you don't want to try to make this the best it can be. I don't
Right.
get
That's how
it.
you're wired, though.
I know.
That's
I
how
just
you're
don't
wired.
get it.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you can improve it, why would you not? That's to me. I don't know. Maybe that's the lore of ceramics to me is like you can only make what you make. You can only make what your skill set allows you to make. You can keep trying,
Yeah.
right? Like I think ceramics is something you're never going to master. You'll find your voice and you'll find what you like to make, but I don't think it's anything that can be mastered per se.
I agree. Yeah.
Anyway,
And it's also something that, kind of like your golf swing, like it's trackable. You can see the growth and the change.
yes, yes. I told my wife that. I said every time I open a kiln, it's just like every time I play golf. I learn
Mhm.
something new every single time,
Yeah.
and it's something I can do to make it a little bit better
Yeah.
or worse.
Yeah.
Right? Ugh.
Yeah. That's also why, in the elementary school that I'm teaching in, one of the awesome things about teaching, with these three full-time colleagues, all of them, I mean, they're up to their eyeballs in like art supplies, but they get overwhelmed by working with clay. So I jump in and I'm like, I'm the clay lady. I'll just be playing with the kids. And my colleagues are like, thank God.
Yeah,
Thank God
take you
someone's
got
here
it.
to do it. And
Yeah.
and the kids are so, I mean, I say that, but I actually haven't really done many clay units this year yet. It's just been a hard year. But anyway, off tangent. It's so cool to see kids get so excited. And also I think for me, you talked about your experience with being drawn to clay, but I was drawn to clay at a very young age and was always like in the elementary school level, like, give me the clay, give me the clay, give me the clay. And I couldn't learn the wheel until, at least in New York State, you have to take like studio and art before you can take a ceramics class.
That's true.
So, pardon?
That's true. Even in Alfred, you don't touch the wheel till I think second semester.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then I completely do the opposite. Like when I've taught it in high school level, I'm like, I know that those kids are dying to get their hands on the wheels. So I put them on when they're so green and they are not ready, and then it's a shit show. Yeah.
Well, no, that's good because that's like, all right, here's the reality of clay, kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's
It's
that whole, it's like that meme of the like Instagram versus reality. Like they think they're going to like jump on and it's going to be like Ghost, but
yeah.
instead they're,
That's too funny. I got a good friend who's an art teacher at Arkport.
okay, yeah.
She was at Cuba Rushford for a long time. So I've been going to her
Oh God.
classroom for
Okay.
like, I don't know, 10, 12, 13 years or so. And I go every year and I just do a throwing thing for the kids and
Oh,
sit.
fun.
It's kind of fun. And I'm always like, well, what do you want me to make? And they're like, throw 20 pounds.
Oh my God.
I'm like, oh, do I really have to? So I end up making like the world's biggest ice cream bowl. They're like, what are you going to put in that? I was like, ice cream. Who doesn't eat
Yeah.
5 pounds of ice cream at a time?
Oh my God, that's so funny.
So I started making these salt and pepper sets yesterday. Kind of like a la Ron Philbeck, kind of just
Fun. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
squared
Love that.
off with feet on the bottom.
I like
Uh,
that.
because I want to paint them. I'm going to do florals on all sides, and you can like switch, switch
Yeah.
flowers. No, but I bought a square extruder piece
Okay.
for my extruder, which these things are oddly expensive, and they have to be like, so this piece has to be held in the middle inside the extruder by that, which they don't make I'd have to buy a whole nother extruder, which is like $400. So I bought the piece and had my buddy fabricate it, he's a welder, and
Yeah, I was gonna say.
it didn't really work. And I'm like, I can just build these with slabs. And I probably spent 3 days trying to make that thing work, and I'm like, I could just make them out of slabs. What a dummy. So that's what I'm doing.
That's funny.
So you are going to Ensika, you said.
I'm actually I'm doing a pop-up with some people.
Oh, cool. Which
Um,
one?
so it's a new one.
Is it
You've
the
actually
Silica Sluts?
say it again.
Silica Sluts? Have you seen that one?
No, I'm not part of Silica Sluts. No, we're called the GOATs, the Guild of Artisan Teachers.
Oh, cool.
Um, so actually, there's a group of us who had gotten together and we tried to um, present a workshop idea for NSECA. It was a bunch of us, like Kyle Guyman, and is that how you say his name? Guyman or Guyman?
Yeah,
Guyman?
yeah,
Yeah, Kyle, Meg, who you had on.
yep.
Tony was in the group too, and then Sarah Catherine. I don't know if you follow her, Sarah Gromick.
Yeah. So as like teachers teaching a workshop?
Yeah, it was a bunch of us got together and we tried to present this workshop. We wanted to try to, and Sika didn't accept it. But while we were talking back in the spring, we were like, let's also do a pop up. But many of the people in this group are already part of like Pot Stars or all these different,
Yep.
pop up groups. So we created this group, and then a lot of people ended up not being able to be a part of it. So it's turned into, it's a smaller group, which is great. And the nice thing is we're bringing in a lot of art teachers who
Uh-huh.
teach at either the college level or the high school level. I think I'm the only elementary teacher in this group. And we are going to be in the same building as the Only Pots group. That's a new group this year as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So, and it's just funny because this Guild of Artisan Teachers pop-up group has so many people who are in these other pop-ups. And we're just trying to kind of create some kind of a collective, like we're kind of like, I think because our workshop wasn't accepted, and that's something, like I am going to talk about this. My one frustration that I have towards NSECA is they do a lot for like how they have the K through 12 students, and showing the work. I don't think they provide enough materials, like workshop, and thought pieces for ceramic teachers or for art teachers. And I've had a lot of friends who are art teachers who have tried to write proposals for workshops, and then Sika has kind of said like, we're really going more in this direction of like gearing towards just potters or hobbyists or whatever. And anyway,
Well, sorry to interrupt. Isn't that what NSECA stands for? National Conference on Education, right?
yeah. Very,
Okay.
very astute of you. So anyway, I mean that's just one frustration that I have is I'm kind of like, I really wish that they just we had a really what we were going to do is we wanted to create this workshop where it was more like round table discussions of people being able to gather in groups to be able to
Yeah.
just talk about the difficulties, just like what we were talking about at the start of this podcast. We were talking about how difficult it is to be a teacher. And if we have more containers or more spaces where there are people like you who are kind of like facilitating discussion, how that can just create more community.
Yeah.
So
We'll have to talk more once we hit stop about NSECA because I feel like it's like talking about the Illuminati. You know what I mean? Like, shh,
Yeah.
don't let them hear.
I
I think
know.
they're on my Wi-Fi.
I think with any leadership, it's important to be able to hear constructive criticism and take it into consideration. And you have groups of educators who are putting all this money into going to this conference, and if they're saying like we need more support, and you're saying like yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, um, I actually was talking to a guy last year about we should do a panel on those of us that are pretty successful potters, but
Uh-huh.
did not go to school for ceramics.
Right, because there's even something about that. I mean, I also my degrees are both in art education. I don't have any degree in
Mm-hmm.
ceramics. And
Yep.
sometimes, I mean, I've even that I know that you had a situation where you had someone kind of attack you on Instagram for
Yes.
a different thing, but I had someone attack me because I was talking about a master's degree, a master's program experience. And this
Uh,
person came after me about having a master's. And really, she's a fellow potter. And really, what it came down to is she was just insecure about not having a master's in art education, or sorry, not having a master's in ceramics.
yep.
And
Sorry.
I I know, right? Like I think that's something you need to work on, maybe with your
Yeah.
therapist. I don't know,
Sounds like a
question
you problem.
mark. Yeah, but I say this because I agree with you. I think there are people, and I think that sometimes the ceramics world can be a little cliquey,
Mm-hmm. A little bit.
and and I think there can be a little bit of a thing with like do you have the credentials? Are you nationally recognized? Do you have the degree? Et
Mm-hmm.
cetera, et cetera. And that idea of having a panel of people who are self-taught and self-made and really but
Mm-hmm.
then that is going right right back with what you're saying. You're kind of going against the system, the
Yep.
Illuminati system of saying like, hey, wait a second, you can just teach yourself.
So, Wes Brown, do you know Wes?
Yeah, yeah, he's great.
Wes is awesome. He actually
I met
teaches at
him.
Penn. What's that?
I met him. He did the Flower City Pottery Invitational a couple of years in
Yes,
a
which
row. Yeah.
I'm in next year.
You are? Oh my God. Put in a word because I really want to be invited. I'm like, yo, I used to be a studio potter at Flower City.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, because I lived in Rochester. We haven't even talked about that, but I lived in Rochester from 2012 to 2016.
Oh,
And I
okay.
was a studio potter at that when it back then it was still called Genesee Pottery. I don't remember what it was called. I don't know. They've changed their name a bunch.
Well,
Anyway, you're gonna be in that invitational. That's awesome.
well, Wes invited me, which was wild. And I'm like,
Oh.
hell yeah, because back when I was a learning new potter, I used to go to that show and be like, oh my God, you guys are all gods.
Yep.
And here I am being a part of it. It's kind of like coming full circle. It's just so
Full
cool.
circle. That's
Yeah,
right.
pretty excited.
I
But
love that.
I met Wes at Alfred when I watched him do a demo because his pots are
Hmm.
cool as shit. He was on the show. I think he was episode 7 or 8, I think. And he teaches at Penn State now.
No kidding. I wonder if
Yeah,
he took Roberto Lugo's position.
I don't know where Lugo
Or
went.
no,
I,
no,
he's
no. Oh, you know what? I'm totally wrong there. I know Roberto went to Penn State and he was
yeah.
teaching at Tyler School of Art.
I haven't
I
seen what
screwed that up.
Roberto Lugo's. I haven't seen him in a while. He blew up there for a couple of years, and I haven't seen him.
I saw him. He gave a talk in Baltimore, and that's where I went for grad school. I went to MICA, Maryland Institute College of Art,
Uh huh.
and he was giving a talk. And so I have a picture with him of like little baby Jordan, like fangirling. But he's like the headliner at NCCA this year.
Yeah, he's going this year. Yep.
Yeah.
But Wes, when he was on the show, we were talking about him and I both learned pretty much by watching Simon Leach on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Remember Simon?
Yep.
I mean, his Simon Leach's grandfather was like the father of functional ceramics,
Yeah.
the Leach pottery in England. Hold on, come on, dog. Fourth time, come on. So I mean, there's a world of us out there, you know, and I understand. I understand the, you know, you want to cater towards the universities and the academia. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you know, there's other ways to do it. And there's other ways to be successful.
Well, not to mention, I think that, we are watching as this world is rapidly changing. And
Yes.
I do think I do think that the higher education bubble is
Hmm.
at its breaking point. I think it's going to burst very soon,
I agree.
if it hasn't already. I mean, I have a college or two. I have a college that definitely closed in the last 2 years around here,
Hmm.
Casanova, and then
Oh yeah.
uh, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the ceramics program at SU is getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
We're seeing it across the board. I mean, even here in this area, OCC shut down its ceramics program a number of years ago as well. Um,
Kids are talking about being an influencer for a living. I'm like, that's not a
that's
job, is
also,
it?
and I
Or is,
also
is
think
it the new?
that,
Is it the new job? Is it the new way of the new world? Is that a way to make a living? I
well,
don't know.
a lot of my elementary students, that's what they say too, is they want to be an influencer. And here I was talking about astrology a little bit ago with you, but the astrology really does show. I think that we are going to continue to curve, and I think that the whole influencer thing is really going to be a thing of the past quite soon. I think that people, like, especially even the Instagram world, I get nervous about, because more and more people are shying away from the whole model of Instagram is like having this put together life that's put on a grid, right? And
Yeah.
like showing how perfect and picture perfect things are.
Mm, yeah.
And I think
Yep.
that the artists rally against that, or rail against that, and we really try to say like that's not real. But I
Yeah.
think that more people are starting to go like, wait, that's not real. Like that, why are we caring or trying to make our lives look like Instagram when that's not reality?
Yeah.
So I do think that we're going to see, probably in the next 2-3 years, um,
Big
the
shift.
whole, yeah, I really think
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's kind of like the PGA of America has a PGA show in Florida every year, and I
Uh-huh.
used to go. The club used to send me down there, and we're one of the really good courses, but we're also small. We're in the middle of nowhere, you know, and
Yeah.
I would go down there and talk to these sales reps that are from these really super high end clothing companies, and I'm like, I'm not going to sell a shirt for $135 at my golf course. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'll sell a $50 shirt, maybe 60, but you guys are catering to the 0.02% of these high-end golf courses when there's like 30,000 golf courses in the United States, and those are the people that are playing golf, you know,
Yeah.
those blue collar workers that go play men's league after work. Those are the guys that are keeping the game alive. They're buying the balls, they're buying the clubs. You know,
Right.
it's not the rich lawyers at their private clubs,
Right. Yeah.
but they cater to them, and you know,
It's
I
about
hate
knowing
to,
your audience.
yeah,
Yeah.
like us, me and you know, we're potters. We're on Instagram. We're talking to other potters. We're making pots. We're keeping it going because that's what we love. It's not
Yeah.
because we're trying to, I don't know. Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation.
I'm taking us on a whole bunch of tangents. And also I want to just mention, I've noticed that as we're talking, my ADHD brain keeps taking us off on tangents, and you're really good at bringing us back on track. So I
No,
appreciate that.
well, so here's the hard part is I want to go with you. uh, but people are going to be like, what are they talking about now?
Sorry.
We went from slip to astrology.
I'm sorry.
No, but
I
I
think it's
want you
all
to.
related.
I want you to bring that bowl closer because just in the time we've been sitting here, that thing's totally transformed. That's freaking badass.
Well, it's so funny. I can't decide if I want to because the rim is warped, and so part of me here we were talking about like going with it, right? So
Yeah.
part of my way of going with it is when I warp it, then I go like, all right, then I'm going to lean into that. So part of me is thinking about carving these leaf shapes into the top of it.
Yeah.
Um, but I actually tried doing this exact form yesterday and I kept it because I wanted to show as I was working on this one, it also warped slash like completely slumped. And so, yeah. So I had it was a more symmetrical design, and I was going to do like another negative carve out here. But as I was working, this whole thing literally went like, and it just flattened.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah, so I was about to put it in the recycle bin, but I thought like maybe I'll suspend it and let gravity hold it up and see if I can salvage it.
You know what I do with those pieces when that happens, and something like that happens to me? I do a color test on it.
Oh, that's a good idea too. Yeah,
You know
I'm
what I'm saying?
thinking about.
I'll do some weird glaze combination just because I'm like, at this point, I don't really care how it comes out. I might as well do a glaze test. I turn it into a test tile.
That's a good idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll probably do that. I'm thinking about picking up a new glaze. Clayscapes just came out with a new recipe for their coastal blue, and it looks
Yeah.
so good on darker clay. So I was thinking about buying some of that soon.
I'm playing with their white right now.
Which white? Do you use their?
So it's too funny. I used cream for a long time, which I could not get to do what I wanted because my
Yeah,
clay is so red.
yeah.
So I was constantly layering terra sigillata to cover to not have the red clay bleed through my terra sig.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was adding stuff to the terra sig to make it a little bit more opaque, like Zercopax, and then I was up there and I said, let me just try a different white. So I bought a couple of pounds of that bright white,
Oh, did you
and I
also
love
get
it.
a hydrometer? See, I had
No,
had
no,
yeah.
yeah,
That looks good. That looks good. I
yeah.
struggled with their bright white. That I have really shied away from it. Because it it just runs too much for me.
Really.
Yeah,
Mine's
you're not
really
having that.
stable. I'll show you
Huh.
something else. Um, no, the hydrometer thing. It's kind of funny. We talked about that. I don't really measure. I have a hydrometer. I don't use it.
Oh
Oh,
my god.
here's
Ooh,
the
that's beautiful.
right. It
Yeah.
really breaks nice over texture, and
Mm-hmm.
then I can really just mess around. So those little dots underneath, that's
Yeah.
terra sig.
Oh, okay. I
So
like that a lot.
this is like a nice light blue terra sig underneath it.
I couldn't even see the light blue until you brought it even closer.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
just a
looks
little.
good.
It's very light. So I'm going to mess around with this kind of pattern on a whole bunch of stuff. It's a fine line. Like we were talking about this earlier about making what sells and making what you want.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to find something that sells and I want to make.
That's
If that's
hard.
if
It's
that's
hard.
possible. Did you
Yeah.
see my this mugs?
No.
No? Hold on. You're going to love these. Here. These are a blast. I put a bunch of these down at the local cafe and they sold like crazy.
No kidding. Oh my God, that's great.
It just says
I
F
love that.
this.
Yep.
This one's got blue terra sig underneath, so it
Oh
says
my gosh,
F
I love
this.
that.
Look at this one, Jordan.
Yes, that's great. Oh my
I call
God.
them I call them morning mugs because
Yep.
this is
Yep.
what I think while I'm in the morning when I'm drinking my coffee.
Yep. I'm down with that. I love that. Well, those
Yeah.
kind of things do sell. That sells really well.
Oh, so that's what I was telling my wife. I could do this same decoration and just put like Naples, New York on there, like I said about that tray, and I'd
Yeah.
sell tons of them. I just don't
Yeah.
want to do it.
Do you
No.
ever get the other thing that I really struggle with, and maybe this is just in my like bird brain, like I need to work on this with shadow work or something, but when I have a piece that then becomes really popular and a lot of people want to buy it, I get bored. I get bored. And then I'm
Yeah,
just like, all right, I'm over making this. Like
yeah,
I tackled this one, next
yeah.
on to the
I already
next.
beat that form. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I completely agree. Just like that thing I was telling you that ADHD height.
Yeah.
I extruded a ton of coils, and I'm just building away, building away, building away, and then 2 hours go by, and I'm 20 inches up this form, and I'm like, I don't want
Hmm.
to build straight up anymore.
Yeah.
I I don't know. It might
I
be an
think
issue.
that's I think that's another thing though in especially with having a relationship with making your art that you learn to listen to your intuition a bit. You learn to listen to like, okay, I like this and I'm going to lean into this more. Or like, okay, I don't like doing this. Like, um,
Yeah.
and that's what keeps it fun. Yeah.
Um, do you know Austin Geithner? Did you meet him in Nsika?
I'd have to see his stuff to
Yeah,
know for sure if I
I have
if
those mugs
I don't
upstairs.
think I
He's a
met him, but
nice kid, real long hair. I don't know.
mm,
I think I saw you mentioned you were in a show with him or something, and I was like, oh, I know Austin. But
mm.
what else? So you posted something about somebody moving away from Ithaca. Who's moving?
Yeah, Liz. Oh, I'm so sad. She was in the Western New York Pottery Festival with me last year.
Liz.
She
What's
she
her
was
last name? What's her last name?
I know I heard you. I just can't remember. Her
I was
her
like, oh shit.
her Instagram is the Anurin, and she has like a little toad.
Okay.
She's been up and coming. She was actually the Western New York Pottery Festival's like emerging artist,
Oh, okay.
and she was in Clayscapes with me. I did Clayscapes 2 years ago, but this past year I didn't do the Pottery Festival. Um, and so she was my neighbor 2 years ago. So we did a swap. I have this is one of her pieces that is covered in clay because I accidentally, I'm so sorry, Liz. I dropped it and I broke her handle. So now it's like,
Yeah.
isn't that the worst? I hate when I do a swap and then I break someone's piece. And I'm like, okay, well, now you're just,
Yeah. I tell
you can
my
be a piece.
stepson all the time, and like when he's emptying the dishwasher, I said, "Dude, that's an $80 mug you got in your hand."
Yeah, be careful. Yeah, my
Yeah.
partner won't even touch the mugs.
I say, just leave the coffee mugs on the counter. I'll put them away.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. So
So
Liz,
you mentioned, is she selling all her stuff? What's she selling?
yeah, she had been, are you familiar with there's that studio in Ithaca where they have the clay school of Ithaca and then they have a bunch of like studio spaces. It's up on South Hill.
No, I don't know where that is. Nope.
It's a cool space. It's definitely a cool space. One of my other friends, Kelly Brown Ceramics, is there.
Uh-huh.
But then there so Liz had hooked up with another potter in there and she's been making work there. But before that, she was at Ithaca has like a maker space kind of a thing. And so she
Yeah.
was like, she had kind of become the ceramics guru. She was like the one like firing the kiln and kind of like teaching people who wanted to learn ceramics. Like she was helping out.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, she's moving. And so she had just spent all this time, building up her studio here and now has to like get rid of all of it. So
Oh, no.
yeah, I don't know if you're gonna make a trip down to Ithaca tomorrow, but
I was thinking I'm got nothing else to do.
yeah.
Um, yeah, like I said, I want to have a space. Who did I just see? Sent a picture to my wife. Somebody just created Molly Sanier. She's doing her studio now,
Yeah.
and I'm
That's
like,
taken
that.
her so long to set up.
I
I've
know.
just really felt for her.
I know. I'm excited to see how it goes.
Yeah.
She's a sweetheart. I sent her a message.
Oh.
I said, hey, when you're ready, let me know. I'll come teach a workshop. She said, oh, that'd be great. So
Oh.
that'd be fun. But that's what I
Atlanta's
want to do
awesome.
here. I want a nice community space, and like we can put 5 or 6 wheels and get a few kilns and just rent shelf space, you know.
Yeah.
But again, as we talked about earlier, it's a $150,000 commitment to hope people show up.
Right.
You
I
know.
mean, I think that the interest is certainly there, and also when you have certain areas like here in Syracuse, we've got Clayscapes offers classes. I live on the second floor, and our new housemate, the tenant, has moved in below, and I was talking to him about like, hey, just so you know, my studio is like above your office, so like you might
Yeah.
hear me like slamming clay, and he's like, you're like a real potter. I've always wanted to take classes. I was like, I
Cool.
mean, you can come up and
Yeah.
I'll teach you some stuff. But like, but what I was getting at is it's really hard for people to get into classes because there's been such a renaissance that I mean, sometimes it's you strike when the iron's hot and you might have that interest.
Somebody was
So,
on the other day. I forget which artist it was. It was Amy Irish, actually.
mm,
She was like, pottery's blowing up right now.
yeah, it really
It's
is.
popular, is it? I'm like, oh, okay. Well, cool. I guess that's good for us. We'll see, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm loving what you're doing in that rim right now.
Yeah, I think it's working. I think
I
it's working.
agree.
My problem right now is it's been a while since I have worked on something and talked. And so I was trying to avoid what happened to me last time with the warping of my other bowl. And so I was working in the areas that I felt like needed to like lighten up uh the weight, but my
Yep.
rim is getting really dry right now.
Oh
So
no.
no. Yeah, I'm working against the clock here, but I think I'm gonna be okay.
Well, that's perfect. We got to kind of finish up too. I got to go meet my buddy at 12 o'clock, so it's almost perfect time.
Oh yeah.
So let's see. So tell us where we can find your work, shows, galleries, websites.
Okay. My Instagram is Jordan Coons Ceramics, and that's my website as well, jordancoonsceramics.com. I'm on all the things. I'm on TikTok. My TikTok, I'm
I'm
more
on the.
I'm more
That's
of a
cute.
stalker than like creating my own content. But I'm also on Blue Sky, and I
Uh-huh.
even joined the Red Note world. And yeah, right now I don't have any work in any galleries. Um, but I will have that solo show in Geneseo in May, which you're invited to the opening. It will be the
Oh,
first Friday of
cool.
May. Since that's like right in your neck of the woods there.
Yeah, you have to make.
Um, yeah, I'm trying to think what else. Oh, and then I have my online shop. Like right now, I'm just mostly selling things online, and if people are
Yeah,
interested in things, they can DM me and we can figure things out. But yeah,
very cool. I asked Amy Palatnik did her show with me yesterday. You know Amy the Potter.
yes, she's awesome.
Yeah. She's really cool. She's a lot of fun. She's great energy. So I said, "Tell us where we can find your work." And she said, my garage." I'm like, I was like, "Wait, what? Like, where do you
I
sell your
love
stuff?"
that.
She's like, "I don't know. I don't like you." She's like, "I got a mug over there. I was supposed to ship to somebody, and I just haven't touched it in months."
Oh
I
my
said,
God, I relate to that so hard.
Yeah, it's too funny. My garage. Okay.
That's
So
so funny.
okay, so we're gonna have to like just get together and chat again while you're in the studio off camera and just shoot the shit while we
Yeah,
make stuff. I think
I want to come over and I want to like just see you do some terracage and kind of like learn and see if I could apply that to my work. I feel like that would
so.
be a
You know
lot of
what's
fun.
fun? I kind of showed you the other side of the studio where my wife's wood shop is.
Yeah.
So when we put this in here, right where this big damp box is, we built a wall behind it just to separate the two studios. And if she were trying to get a space for her downtown to have her frame shop more like on a Main Street location,
Mm-hmm.
so if she takes all that down, I'm going to double the size of my studio,
Oh
and that would
man.
be insane. And then what I want to have is just what you were talking about. I want to have like 6, 7, 8 potters over here for a 5-day hangout. You know, not even a
Yeah.
workshop.
Yeah, that would
So
be awesome.
That's the goal. But all right, well, give us a tip. Like you said, we always like to have all of our artists end with one good tip, whether it's a life tip, astrology tip, clay. What do you got?
I think the tip that I would give is to really allow yourself to lean into like kind of what we were talking about already. When you have little interests or little detours that you want to take with your pottery making, like allow yourself to go on to that detour and just see where it takes you. Kind
Hmm.
of like how we were just talking about, like that fight that we have with like capitalism and like gotta make stuff that'll sell. And when you put that pressure on yourself, you're really thwarting any kind of opportunity for creativity and growth. And
Yeah.
taking that road less traveled, or taking that detour, can lead to some really fun things. And it's really important to like listen to that intuition and just lean into it.
Yes, that's a great one. Thank you for saying that. And the good stuff comes from experimentation.
Yeah.
Who was it? Somebody was on the show and they said, "Learn by failing. You don't learn anything by winning."
Well, and also like finding, gosh, the amount of times I hear when I'm talking to students and they're like, I'm not good at art. I don't know how well you'll teach me because I'm not good at art. And it just goes to show how we've really beaten into our brains that you should only pursue art if you're good at it. And
Yeah, good point.
if you're approaching art like, you know what, today I'm just going to play. I'm just going
Yeah,
to play. Then that kind of like reframes it into, I'm not trying to make the newest piece of
yeah. I'm
art.
not
I'm
trying to
just,
change the world here. Yeah,
yeah, I'm not
yeah,
curing cancer.
yeah.
I'm just making. I'm just
Making a
playing.
month. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
That's
did
my tip.
one of my visiting artist things a couple years ago. While throwing on the wheel, I said to talking to the kids, I said, I don't really think I'm a very artistic person. And my friend, the art teacher, she's like, I can't believe you just said that. Like, well, I can't draw. I'm not a painter. She's like, yeah, but art's in everyone's. It's in their DNA. It's how they use it. It's
Hmm.
you define if you're an artist, not anybody else.
Well, that
Yeah.
um, you keep like giving me more things to like talk on, but it makes me think of my a person that I studied a lot in college. Her name is Ellen Desanayaki. She was really big in like the 80s and 90s, and she talked about how the thing that sets humans apart from all the other animal kingdom is we have an innate ability to take and make special, which really is creating art. So we think that being an artist is being able to draw, being able to paint, being able to sculpt or whatever. And really, we all are artists because we all can take and make special. And then it's about learning what it is that is taking and making special for you. For you, it's terracage, it's surface decoration, which is drawing, by the way, Mike. But also, you take and make special with golfing,
Yeah.
with having a good swing. That is still taking something that was just a ball, and you're making it special by being able, you get what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah. I know. I do. It's funny. I was telling someone the other day on the show. I was like, I don't think I'm a painter. And as I'm sitting here painting on a pot, I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, I take that back.
Yeah, you really should take that back.
Yeah. These are fun. Are you liking these floral things? I'm kind of going nuts on these right now.
I really like them a lot. It makes me think of, are you familiar with Colleen McCall?
Yes, her stuff is so good.
So she and we're both from, well, she's not from Elmira, but she
She's
lives
from
in
Corning,
Elmira.
right?
No, she's in Elmira.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, she does a lot of things in Corning too. But
Yeah.
she and I first met forever ago. We both taught ceramics at 171 Cedar Arts in Corning.
Yeah.
But anyway, so your work has that kind of like whimsical thing
Yeah.
going that makes me think of her floral patterns. Yeah.
Wow, cool. I appreciate that because I love her pots. So it's just to be in the same sentence is pretty sweet. But
Oh,
all right, young lady, I had a wonderful time chatting with you today.
me too. Thank you so much for inviting me. This was fun.
Yeah, very cool. Like I said, anytime you're in the studio and you're bored, let's just FaceTime and do this again. We'll just talk about
Yeah,
the world.
for sure.
That would be a
Yes.
blast.
Obviously, we can
I'm,
talk about basically anything and just keep going.
yeah, like we're at an hour and 25 minutes here already.
No
And
sweat.
I'm loving where the bowl's going. That's really cool. I like the rim like that.
Thanks. Yeah,
Yeah,
me too.
shoot me a picture later. Let me see how it comes out. That's pretty
Okay,
badass.
sounds good.
All right, dear. You have a wonderful day. I appreciate you, and we'll be seeing you around.
Okay, thank you again.
Hey, Jordan Coons. Thank you.